If you're over 50 and still lifting weights, you're doing something incredible for your health. But in my work as an over 50s specialist, I've seen so many people kept out of the gym for months by preventable injuries. There are 3 major gym injuries I see in people over 50 that can keep you out the gym for a very long time. And each of these is preventable. In today's video, I'm going to tell you about each one in turn and show you how to prevent it, but also how to treat it if you already have it. The first and arguably most common gym injury that affects over 50s is a rotator cuff injury. And your rotator cuff is a set of 4 small muscles that live around the shoulder. And if this is your shoulder joint, which sits about here, the rotator cuff wraps around this area here, keeping your arm in its socket. Now, they're very small muscles, these 4 rotator cuff muscles, but they have to work really hard when you lift your arm, when you press, or when you pull. And the thing is, the rotator cuff can become irritated quite easily, especially if those muscles are weak or there's poor mechanics working around your shoulder joint. If these weaknesses or poor mechanics go on for too long, it can lead to an injury or an irritation of the rotator cuff, which can last for a very long time and keep you out the gym for months. One of the best ways to prevent a rotator cuff injury is to keep the rotator cuff itself really strong. So I'm going to show you some great exercises to help you do just that. But before I do, the exercises in this video are not suitable for everyone. Please avoid them if they cause you any pain. Let's have a look at the first one. It's called the supported lateral rotation, and it looks something like this. I'm going to use my leg to lean on because you want something you can lock your elbow against like this. And we're going to be doing this kind of movement, a lateral rotation. I'm going to be using a small dumbbell, so find the lightest dumbbell you can find. If you haven't got one at home, then use a tin of beans or a can, something like that. Doesn't have to be very much weight. And you're going to hold the dumbbell like this with your arm locked against your leg and keeping the elbow as the pivot point. You're going to rotate up like this, as if you're waving to someone, and then slowly let it rotate back down. Now let it stop at 90 degrees. We don't really want to go beyond there, especially if you've already got an irritated rotator cuff. You just want to come to a flat position and then rotate back up. Now what you'll probably find doing this is that it fatigues quite quickly. That's a good thing. That means you've really isolated the rotator cuff, which in most people is quite weak when we set it out on its own. So you want to take that exercise to the point of fatigue. Somewhere between 10 and 20 repetitions works really well. Do 3 sets of that with a 1 minute break and try and do it a couple of times a week for best results. And by the way, if you're the kind of person who wants to maximize your strength and mobility for life, one of the best things you could do is take my free Stronger for Life roadmap. All you need to do is answer 10 quick questions and I will send you a personalized strength and mobility roadmap which tells you exactly what to do to get to the next level of fitness. You can find the details of it in the description box below. It's 100% free and it's the best thing I've created all year. Another fantastic exercise you can do to either rehabilitate a damaged rotator cuff or just strengthen the cuff to prevent injury is something I call flexion control, which is so simple to do. You just need one of these, which is a resistance band loop. You're going to put your hands inside it. So it's almost like handcuffs. You want your elbows at 90 degrees. And the first thing you're going to do here is just turn the hands out into the band to put a bit of tension on. You want your thumbs pointing upwards. Now we're going to keep that 90-degree angle at the elbow, and you're just going to raise your arms up at the shoulder until that band is just above head height. Keep the distance between your wrists and your elbows the same all the way throughout, and then slowly bring the band back down. Now this looks so easy, but you'll feel your rotator cuff muscles having to work very, very quickly. And what you'll feel you want to do is to bring your hands together to take the tension off the band, but we want to keep that tension on all the way throughout. Don't let the tension drop, and you want your arms to move in a straight line just like mine are now. Now you won't be able to do loads of reps of this because it's so tough. So I recommend doing 5 in a row for 3 sets with a 1 minute's rest in between. Try and do that a couple of times a week for a stronger and more robust rotator cuff. If you have a rotator cuff injury, those strengthening exercises should help you get better. But you might also want to avoid heavy pressing for a while. Things like the bench press and the shoulder press, I recommend dropping the weight and increasing the reps, and that should help it get better faster. The other thing you should do is never push through pain with a rotator cuff injury. If you feel it hurting, either modify the technique, reduce the weight, or change the exercise. To fix the kind of shoulder blade problems that lead to rotator cuff injuries, here is a great exercise you can try. It's called the prone dart, and all you need for it is a mat on the floor or your mattress and a towel like this. You're going to roll up your towel into a little sausage and put it on the bed because you're going to rest your forehead on that towel. You want to start off like this, lying on your front with your forehead on the towel, and let your arms drop down by your sides. Now we've got a two-step movement to make this exercise work. The first step is you're going to pull your shoulder blades off the bed and down, and the second stage is you're going to lift your arms like this, like you're Superman flying through the air. Now the goal here is to contract those muscles that live between the shoulder blades. Once you feel them contract, drop your arms first, then the shoulders. I'll show you again. You're going to pull your shoulders off the bed, pull your shoulder blades together, and then lift the arms like this. Like Superman, drop the arms back down, and then drop the shoulders. And you're going to repeat that 10 times in a row. And by the end of the set, you should feel a working ache in those muscles between the shoulder blades. That will help you strengthen up your rhomboids and a number of different trapezius muscles as well. You've got your lower and your middle ones, which work really hard in that exercise, and that will help you prevent those shoulder blade issues that cause a dicky shoulder. The second issue that keeps over 50s out the gym is either tennis or golfer's elbow. And these conditions show up as pain either here on the outside of the elbow or here on the inside of the elbow. And even though this is where the pain is felt, the condition itself is actually a wrist problem. And it's an overuse condition of either the extensors or the flexors of the wrist. It happens from lots of gripping and often occurs after big spikes in volume. This is why it's very important when you're over 50 to progress slowly to avoid these big spikes. To prevent and treat this issue, strengthening these muscles is key. And we're looking at strengthening these wrist muscles, the extensors at the back of the wrist and the flexors at the front. So to do this, all you need is a small weight. I've got a 2 kilogram weight here, which is a good starting point. You might need a little bit less if you're just getting started. And you're going to rest your arm on the table like this. We're going to start off strengthening the extensors, which are linked to tennis elbow if they get weak. You want to hold your weight like this with your forearm resting on the table and your wrist hanging down. So you let your knuckles drop to the floor, and keeping your wrist in contact with the table, you're just going to pull your knuckles up towards you and then let them slowly back down again. And you would just keep repeating this nice and slow. So we want at least 3 or 4 seconds down, 2 or 3 seconds up, until you get a working ache in these muscles here. And try and do that 3 times a day. Now, if you want to protect from golfer's elbow, which is on this side of the wrist, you just turn your arm over. So you've got the back of your forearm resting on the table. You want your knuckles to drop down to the floor with your palm up, and then you're going to curl up like this. Again, keeping that forearm in contact with the table throughout. You keep doing this movement as you get a working ache on the inside of the forearm, nice and slow, 3 times a day, and that usually treats tennis and golfer's elbow. As a side note, both of these exercises are taken from my book, Thriving Beyond 50, which is basically a manual for people over 50 who want to cure and prevent all of the common aches and pains. If you're interested in picking it up, you can find it in the description box below this video. If you already have irritation around your elbow, a great piece of advice is to try changing your grip in any exercise that you can. Some people find that doing heavy rows with their palms facing down or palms facing up can aggravate those wrist conditions. So why not change to a neutral grip where your thumb is facing forward like this and just do one hand at a time, or do a cable row instead. Sometimes that's enough to take the stress off these irritated points. Another thing you could do is invest in a pair of wrist straps, which mean you don't have to grip the bar or the weight so hard, and you can still work your target muscle. Whatever you do, don't just push through the pain. The third issue that affects gym goers over 50 is irritation around the knee joint. And this is usually felt as pain at the front of the knee, especially when squatting or doing deep leg presses. And contrary to what most people believe, this kind of knee pain is usually not arthritis. It's usually irritation to the soft tissue structures that live at the front of the knee that are very sensitive right the way through life. Once you have it, these irritations can be long-lasting and very painful and can keep you out of the gym for a long time, but they're usually preventable and almost always treatable. The best way to prevent this knee problem is to make sure you don't have a quad and glute imbalance. And we see this with gym goers all the time. People are very strong in the squat, but 90% of the effort's coming from their quads, and they actually have comparatively weak glutes. You need strong glutes to protect against knee pain because your glutes control the alignment of your thigh bone. So if your squat is 90% quads and almost no glutes, that can often lead to this irritation around the knee. So now I'm going to show you how to fix that quad glute imbalance and prevent this knee irritation. I've got a great exercise to show you. It's called the hip abduction inside lying, and it strengthens the glutes in all the right places. This is what you're going to need for it. It's a little resistance band. You can get these very cheaply online, and we're going to use it around both ankles. So the first thing you're going to do is lie on your side with the side to be worked at the top and put your band around both ankles like this. Let your legs go out nice and straight away from you, and then take your top hand, put it on the mat or the bed and roll forward into it. So we want to be a little bit further forward than feels most natural. The exercise is very simple. You're going to lift that top leg up and ever so slightly behind you, activating the glute here, and then come back down to the starting position. And then just keep repeating that movement. You'll really feel this muscle working hard if you're doing it correctly. And the area we want to feel it is just below the belt line, not above it. If you're doing it above, that's your lower back kicking in. We want it to be below the belt line in that glute. So you want to keep doing this exercise until the glute is basically too fatigued to continue. So it actually should feel like quite a tough exercise by the end of the set. And if you can do 2 or 3 sets on each side several times per week, that will be enough to fix or prevent this knee problem that we're talking about. It's such a powerful exercise. Not enough people do it, but if you do it, it will save you a whole host of knee problems. Trust me, give it a go at home, and I hope it makes a big difference. If you already have irritation around your knee joint, here are a couple of things you can try. The first is to reduce the depth that you go in a squat. So instead of doing a full squat, try doing a box squat, which looks exactly the same, but you just have a chair or a platform or a bench behind you, so that when you're squatting, you feel that chair as your bottom point and then you come back up. So basically you're not sitting down, you're just noticing it's there and then coming back up. It's a signal that you've gone down far enough. Sometimes reducing that depth can significantly reduce the irritation around the knee. Another tip you can try is to try squatting with a band around your knees. Now what this does is activates your glutes during that squatting movement. And as we discussed, the glutes are really important for the alignment of your thigh bone. So you would do your same squats, but with this band. Your knees will have to push out against the band, which can often improve the alignment of them, but it will also activate these glute muscles and make them stronger to protect you from that knee irritation. Pair that with not going quite so deep, doing less weight with more reps, and you might find that your knee irritation improves significantly. The final thing you can try is something called a pre-activation routine before your workouts. And this is something we used to do with the professional footballers back when I worked in professional sport. We did it before a game, because there's research to show that one of these routines can improve the activation of the glutes and reduce knee injuries by quite a lot. So this is what you need to do. Get your same band and put it around your ankles this time. And just hold on to something that can give you some balance. And all we're going to do is a few different movements. The first is an abduction. So you just move your leg in and out like this, nice and briskly without bending at the spine. The second is an extension. So keep yourself upright. And this time we're kicking out like this. And the third thing is something called an around the world. So turn sideways on. We're going to start going forward. Keep that tension on the band as we go round and behind and back in. And just repeat this 5 to 10 times in a row for each of those movements, once on each side. That's all it takes. And you should feel a little bit of activation in your glutes before you start your routine. Now, this surprises people, but just doing that can be the difference between feeling the knee during the workout and not feeling it at all. So it's something very simple you can try before you get started. So I hope that video was useful. If it was, please do drop a comment below and let us know. I've got another video on the screen right now to help you improve some of the common injuries that over 50s suffer. So click on that if you're interested, and I'll see you again on the next one.